Three things that you should consider when you're making a pop song. We can be talking about top 40 pop, but we're also talking about just modern type of music, usually music that you would hear on popular Spotify playlists or popular radio. So here are three things that I do in my songs because I consider my music indie pop. The first thing is structure. Pop is all about structure. What makes it popular is because it has a standard structure that pretty much carries over almost identically throughout all the songs. It's just like when you go to McDonald's and you order a Big Mac, you know whether you order the Big Mac in Berlin or Canada or New York City, you're gonna get the same Big Mac. It's popular. So here's what the structure is. Usually this can happen over 4 bars or 8 bars. It's usually in 8-bar chunks. So there sometimes is an 8-bar intro, not likely anymore in pop music. Usually it gets right into it. Maybe there's a bit of a sweep into the song. So the verse is 8 bars. So an 8-bar verse, then we have an 8-bar pre-chorus. Sometimes in pop music, you can cut out the pre-chorus altogether or make it 4 bars. But majoritively, I would say it's 8 bars. So 8-bar verse, 8-bar pre, then you usually have a 16-bar chorus. Then you're back into verse 2 for 8 bars, pre for 8 bars. As you can see, it's identical to the first one. 16-bar chorus. Now here's where we can have a bit of a divergence, let's say. Because we want to hit the chorus 3 times, typically we would have an 8-bar bridge. So this could be something refreshing, a different chord progression, something different rhythmically and melodically to like cleanse the palate, you can say, and then you hit the chorus again for the 3rd time. Now where things are changing a little bit is sometimes instead of having the bridge and 3rd chorus at the end, actually moving the chorus up front. So in the last year or so, a lot of songs are becoming shorter, and the first thing you hear in the song is actually the chorus. So typically the most melodic or catchy part of the song. So it gets it right into your head. So the first thing is you hear chorus, then the verse, pre-chorus, then chorus again, then a verse, and then the last chorus. So you don't have this bridge and last chorus at the end. It's actually kind of moved all up front. If you're new here, I'm Charles Klein, singer, songwriter, and producer. So if you're making music or producing music and you're trying to get that music heard, then feel free to subscribe to this channel because that's what this channel is all about. So if you're trying to work your way within that pop world, I would keep in mind this type of structure and work around this while you're creating songs. The second thing you should consider when making pop music is dynamic. Peaks and valleys in the song. A rule of thumb that you can use is don't have or longer than 8 bars in your song without something new happening. So if you have a guitar part in the intro, 8 bars from there, what can you add in? Maybe it's the vocal, but what else can you add in to make it fresh and exciting? Some pop songs even get carried away where it's like every 4 bars something new is coming in and catching your attention. It can get overwhelming if things are not properly mixed or thought out properly, where you just have too many different sounds coming into play. But it could be volume of things, it could be the velocity of things, it can be vocals, it can be harmonies, it can be drums, it can be little transition things. So I'll give you a bit of a vibe here. Intro verse. You keep me waiting and you think I'd know by now. Lots of space there. I'm not impatient, but I've always been let down. Harmonies come in. It's getting late, I wonder why. You pull me closer just to push me aside. It might be fate, I can't decide. You just keep me hanging on. I'm just scared to open up what... Big thing there are keys and synths that are coming in on the chorus. And then coming out of the chorus, we have the second verse, with the drums. Misunderstood. You left me wasted, now I'm down here. So very fresh because we're familiar with melody, but we have drums. And then the difference between second verse and pre-2. Actually, this is pre-2. We have a guitar part coming in here. So something fresh again, harmonies come in. Second chorus is fresh because we have the drums. We haven't heard the chorus yet with drums. We heard the first chorus here, but there wasn't drums. second chorus of drums. The bridge is a different progression, so we have something fresh here. And then the chorus, we have new drum parts, ride cymbals that come in, and more harmonies that make it more dynamic, plus more synths. A number 3 thing to consider when you're making pop music is leaving space. What I mean by space is actually leaving space in your song, in your productions. Don't overfill it with instruments, like with over synths and bass. And you know, if you're gonna add something, make sure it only adds value. So when you mute it, you can definitely hear a difference, or else it shouldn't really be in the song. The key thing though is when you're thinking about leaving space, it doesn't necessarily just mean leaving it blank. It's almost like giving the illusion that there is space without actually leaving space. For example, in the beginning of this song here, there's not really much going on other than the vocal. However, there are a lot of synth pads going on that create a lot of energy, like all these things. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We still have 5 different tracks, plus a verse vocal stack down here of 12 more vocals. So just that gives us space, but even though there's like 30 tracks in there. So it's kind of the illusion of space where it's like that it leaves is kind of like a bed for the vocal. When you add a vocal, you can clearly hear the vocal, and it's almost like the vocal is the only thing going, even though there's like 30 or 40 tracks underneath. So how would you go about building these pads? You can just look in Logic at like stock pads in all the synths. You can make your own with recording different reverbs on things. That's what I did with this pad. It's literally just a recording of a reverb that I made on the guitar. I do have another video about that if you're interested. Synth pad here. And then this is just a harmony stack, so just my vocals. Sounds super cool because it's something you can't create with an instrument. It has to come from your voice. I do that a lot with voice because I find it just a bit more authentic. So this kind of thing is really good for verses, but for choruses, you're going to want to get busier. You don't want to just have so much space in the chorus. You do need likely drums and bass. That's when things start to get really busy. What I've always heard pro producers talk about is like, go back to keeping it simple. It's a fine line, right? Because you want to try to get unique and authentic things, and sometimes you do go down the road of getting complicated on things. But when you find that it is complicated, tone it back a bit and try to become more simple, and then you might find an even ground here. Like, we could have made a much more complicated beat in this song, but what we have here is quite a simple beat here. You know, we're not reinventing the wheel on anything, but once that beat, we can process that beat that makes it maybe sound a bit more authentic. Keys. A big caveat in this one is careful if you don't like put up hurdles in front of yourself when you're producing, because you want to keep it simple and lots of space. When you're producing, don't be afraid to like chuck tons of ideas at the song. Get instruments down. You want bass, you want synth, you want claps, you want to try everything. Just get all the ideas out. And then when you're okay, like take a step back and you're like trying to curate the right sound, then you got to be like, all right, I need to put on my simple and spacey hat so I'm not overwhelming the track here. Those are 3 things I do to make my indie pop song. Feel free, guys, to subscribe to this channel. And I go live every Monday. We could do like a Q&A about music production and any questions you have about Logic. So I hope to see you in the next one.